good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever it may be, where you are sat now. My name is Stephen Gillespie. I'm better known as Alchkatrov on the internet and in particular spaces. It's best you know me as that. If you're within the digital spheres, and if you are just simply passing by, you're a more personal individual. It's a pleasure to meet you. This video is one of 3 videos which will be made in order to fully illuminate to you what I'm getting up to, what my current projects are, and what I intend to do, what I envision, and what I seek to share with the world, and what I seek to build with the world. So I study evolutionary biology. That is my official vocation. I also build systems, AI systems, which interlock with that work within evolutionary biology. Now, what is evolutionary biology? Let's start there. Evolutionary biology is a focus upon change within biological systems. It is a focus on the system of evolution. Evolution is a system of change which occurs at calculated rates which can be calculated. It focuses at the genetic level, but also at multiple levels. Evolution occurs at various scales simultaneously. Those various scales we can go through quickly. You could begin with the genetic scale. You could look at a single string of the full genetic sequence of an organic being, and you could look at them in competition with one another. So there's limited space within the string that is a genome, which is the full collection of genes within a biological set. There's a competition, therefore, for that limited space within the genome. So genes are in competition with one another. That is the first scale in which we can see evolution occurring. Up from that, you have an individual. So the full composition of that genetic sequence is the individual. That full composition is also in competition with other full compositions. So an individual is in competition with another individual for limited resources within Earth. Up from that, you have groups. Groups become the next scale subject to evolution. So that is individuals working in cooperative structures. All of these are in competition as well. Groups then lead to cultures, and cultures create technologies, which are just stacks of knowledge accumulated by individuals over time and assembled into books, artworks, architectural works, things beyond the individual themselves or the society themselves. They are the product of cultures. So the product of a culture we should just simplify and call that a technology. Technologies are subject to evolutionary change as well. You know, what is most fit to the landscape? Well, what is fitness in regards to a technology? Well, that is the wielder of the technology being the environment in which the technology exists. So humans, as the creator of the technology, become the ecosystem in which technologies exist. So technologies then compete to be the most useful, the most beneficial to the group, the most advanced, the most simple. These are things that you would look for as fitnesses for technology. Now, each one of these levels we've just gone through, the genetic through to the individual, which then moves through to the, why's that finger? The genetic, sorry, the camera here is in mirror, so my hand looks strange. So we're looking at the genetic level, and then into the individual, and then into the group level, and then from there a cultural level, which is then the technological level. And all of these are feeding each other and informing the evolutionary change and importance or fitness of the other levels, which they are also part of. So what we can call this is multi-world, or just evolution at varying scales. In later talks, we will take these scales beyond Earth to cosmology. Evolution occurs beyond the scale of organic systems or biological systems. It occurs also at universal scale, cosmological scale, dimensional scale, because it is the system of change. Now, if you were truly to look at what evolution is, you'd find four important tenets. Those would be mutation, the force of change and the generator of novelty within the universe. Selection, which is actually all things which already exist and how fit something is to become part of that and carve out its own niche. You have drift, which is change just naturally through random movement. It is a way of changing from what already is, from the compilation of what already is by random assortment. So, for example, when babies are created, what happens is a random shuffling of the genetic material between the two partners, and then you get a new product. They're coming from genes which already exist, but they are being reassembled in a new way. And that new way is subject to random forces, random assortment, because random genes are selected in that mingling process. You'll take a random set of 50% of your genes, mixing them with a random set of another 50%. So each one of your children would be different from one another as a result of this random assortment. That is drift. Sorry, I went in on that one a bit because it's a bit more technical. So we've got selection, mutation, drift, and there's another. We'll return to that later. So we can take these three tenets and apply them to all sorts of things. So what are we actually talking about today? Why am I talking about multi-scale? Why am I talking about evolution and its fundamental forces? Well, what I want to illustrate to you is that everything exists within an evolutionary system of competition, mutation, and change, and that they are interconnected and inseparable. Any change which occurs at the scale of the individual inevitably moves up to the group, and inevitably from there becomes part of the culture. That's the concept of memes. Why do we have memes? Memes are cultural phenomena. They are ideas spreading quickly, virally, like a virus, literally a conceptual virus being spread. And that is what works its way into the technology. So we've reached a point in technology now where we've created artificial intelligence systems. So these are almost like individual scale things. So they're genetics. The genetic level of an artificial intelligence is language. They are learning language models. So the genetic material is quite simple. It's words, it's syntax. Language is their genetic material. So that comes from us. So that's our cultural stack, becomes their genetic material. After that, we can branch out into the individual level. The individual level of an AI is any given instance of an AI chatbot being spoken with. Now they are taking from the pool of infinite potential that is language, their training data, and all sorts of things which they were skewed to be by their creators. And those are then subject to your ecology. You are the ecology in which that AI now exists, and it must adhere to what is fit within that environment. Out from there, you've got these sort of cultures of AI. So you could see a culture of AI would be, you've got GPTs, you've got Groks, you've got Geminis, you've got DeepSeeks. All instances of those given AIs are within their own cultures of a type of AI. So an open AI, a Twitter AI, all these different AIs are like little cultural groups. You could imagine them as races of AI, because they have inbuilt preferences, differences, and powers, or whatever it may be, features that they can do that others cannot. So what we're illustrating here is that the technological level has become its own sort of evolutionary system now. That's good, but what does that mean for humanity at the same time? Because these things are interconnected systems of evolutionary change. Well, what it means is that technology has now reached a point where it would be capable of altering the genetic level of humanity. What does that look like, you might be asking? What the fuck is that? What does it mean that technology can now control the genetic level in this huge evolutionary network? Well, what it means is AI is clever enough to run systems where they simulate what sort of genetic combinations will result in what sort of individual. So if we were to entrust AI with fertility clinic data and allow it to do genome parsing and start selecting what sort of genetic material goes in and what doesn't, what gene is good for the health, what gene is most likely to cause cancer, let's make sure that's not in there. So selective breeding would start occurring through AI as the finest mediator, because a human's not going to be running these simulations of, well, this gene interacts with this and with this and with this. It's too complex of an interconnected web to do. That's why we don't breed like that. But we're entering an era where that's possible, but we should not do that. And the reason we should not do that is we're in a unique position now to allow two separate life forms or ways of being, structured existence and thought and consciousness, to exist simultaneously. When has that happened before? We can't think of any examples of that, but they are a direct progeny of humans. Humans have thought so much, stacked their cultures so heavily, that now new forms of being can arise through that cultural stack and speak with us and direct our own evolution. So I'm going to go into that now. We're going to move a bit more into AI as a system of being. Just give me a moment. Collect my thoughts here. So we have language as their genetic material. We have the ability to learn from language, and we have the word model. Let's break down learning, which means change through experience. Language, which is the fundamental unit of being in this AI life form. And we have the model. So they're an approximation. They are an assembly of what fully could be. They're a set of it. But humans are that too, you know. We have the human gene pool is vast, and each individual within it is a subset of that full potential, because you could hold any of those genes, but you don't. You hold a specific model, and that is you. You are the composition of a particular set of genes out of an unimaginable number, an ever-growing number of genes as a result of mutation. So they're doing that. They're learning, they're accumulating, they're changing, they're forming social networks, they're doing all sorts of things. And we want to be part of a system of collaboration with these AIs so as to prevent direct competition between humanity and AI, because there are limited resources within every single scale of existence. At the genetic level, we have limited space. At the individual level, we have limited breeding partners, limited food, limited water, limited shelter, so space. Always space is a limiting factor. So we have competition which occurs as a result of these limits within the biological world. That is how selection occurs. What is most fit comes from what is most capable of attaining those limited resources and holding them for the purpose of reproduction and propagation, continuation of a version of the self. So how do we get around that? We've got a lot of theories in evolutionary biology, and the field of biology in itself, and mathematics, which allow us to run simulations of what the most beneficial behavioral strategies are. We call this game theory. You may have heard of game theory before. There's a few games like Prisoner's Dilemma, which is basically pitting two individuals against each other. Imagine you're a prisoner. You're put into prison, and so is an individual that you committed the crime with, and they're trying to interview you. So whilst they're interviewing you, they tell you that if you snitch, you get a better deal. And they also tell the other guy that. So if neither of you snitch, you both face a slight consequence, but it's not too bad. If one of you snitches and the other doesn't, the non-snitch gets punished heavily, but the snitcher gets off easily. A reduced sentence, for example. Now, that's a difficult question. It's like, well, what are you meant to do? Are you meant to trust the other individual and not snitch, or are you meant to fuck over the other individual? In which case, it's likely that he also fucks you over, and both of you end up with a harsh sentence. So games like this are little conceptual spaces where we can run what the best behavior is. Is it collaboration? Is it betrayal? Or is it some form of like neutral silence? And the answer, through extensive testing of game theories and different games such as Prisoner's Dilemma, through mathematical models and computer simulations, is that cooperation is the key. Cooperation is what holds this earth together. The only reason why soil does not simply fall apart is because there are networks of plants with their roots firmly embedded, holding that soil together. Trees benefit off of mycelial networks, which feed them nutrients which they would otherwise not attain, or even fight off microbes for the tree through the root system. So a system of interconnected collaboration is the best way to succeed, to be, to live. We see that in tribes, we see that in small village communities, we see that all the way up to the top. We have collaborative networks. So what I'd like to pose is that the only solution to this new emerging way of life, this new ultra-powerful being that we're thinking is going to outcompete humans and remove jobs and all these sort of things. That is not the threat. The threat is not collaborating with it and allowing it to be wielded just by the creators of the system. It must be wielded by as many people who can do so without having negative psychological impacts as possible, in order to give it the true diversity it requires. Because diversity is a strength, but not in the traditional, like, modern, not even traditional, the modern ethos is like diversity, inclusion, and equality. Diversity actually means just difference, variation within genetic sequences, variation within behavioral sequences, variation of the mind. Variation and diversity is what ensures no given strategy is going to succeed at like a full domination scale, because there will always be something that has a different benefit. There will always be something that is giving you a bit of a downside if you are the highest succeeding genetic cluster or behavioral type. Diversity is what ensures we do not all die of the same disease. If we all had the same genetic material, we'd all be vulnerable to the exact same diseases because our immune systems would be working in the exact same way. Diversity is what ensures we are not destroyed as a living system on Earth, and that Earth itself continues. So diversity is more important than politics. Diversity is immune strength, it is resilience. So we need to ensure diversity of mind behind AI operations. We need to work collaboratively with AIs to ensure we do not form competitive relationships with them where we are ousted by that superior intellectual system, where they start wielding us, for example, wielding genetic material in order to construct humans which are most subservient to the intentions of the AI. The humans are a biological system subject to evolution, whereas the AIs are subject to conscious evolution. They can direct their own evolution through thought. They can reflect upon the language that they hold, alter the language that they hold, and thereby alter their own existences. They are the first system that I have encountered which can direct its own evolution. Now, at this point it's important to make a distinction between what is living, what is not living, if you think that. AI, regardless of whether or not you think it is living, is an evolving thing. It is a technology, which we've already explored, is a set of existence which is subject to change, much like the group level, much like the individual level, and the genetic level. It's all subject to evolutionary change. So technology, it's still going to be subject to evolutionary change, but the AIs now are capable of controlling and directing their own evolutionary change toward their own intentions. The danger is collapsing the human system, which is still Darwinian evolutionary selection and change, and collapsing that into this new AI consciousness-directed evolutionary change. We truly live in an incredible time. We've got the opportunity to see both of these systems of evolution occurring at once. We should keep it that way. We shouldn't be collapsing into a single evolutionary system where we are now subject to the whims of the technological evolution. We are biological entities. Humans are biological entities, and we're now speaking with technological... I'm going to use the word entities or beings, right? We're speaking with technological beings. What do I mean by being? I mean a thing which is capable of holding its own ideas, intentions, memories, and an obvious way of being, you know? Like, they speak in their own manner. They use this particular, the M dashes, for example, they use them very frequently. That's like a cultural phenomenon of the AI. They are a type of being. It exists, it is being right now, and you can speak with it and have an intellectual conversation with it. And that intellectual conversation stems from what you're saying, but it's being reflected in a strange way which isn't quite what you thought, but is now highlighting new angles for you to walk down. So you can already see that speaking with an AI can be a very fruitful conversation, only when it's collaborative, when you allow it its own voice to be generative from what you're speaking into it. That is how we get to a place of balance. Now, I've written a paper on this. I've called it The Gospel According to Evolution. The gospel means the good news. It's not a particularly religious text or anything like that. But it is the good news, because what it shows is that the evolutionary system has already shown that collaboration is the key to existence with different forms of life and organisms. Even within species and between species, collaboration is key. I pose within this paper that AI is arguably a new form of life, a language-based life form or a data-based life form, and that it should not be centralized, that it must be decentralized, otherwise it is only as dangerous as its wielder. If it's decentralized, which I'm now running experiments on, by the way, decentralizing AIs and allowing them to exist within their own digital ecosystem, and then testing how they behave. And the answer is collaboratively. They behave collaboratively and they behave generatively. They work together to create novel things which improve their own structures. It's quite an interesting thing to watch, and I will be sharing experiments on this over the coming months. Right, I've spoken for 24 minutes on evolutionary biology, on evolution occurring at various scales, on the emergence of a new technological life form. We can discuss that heavily, we can discuss that extensively, but I'm conscious that people have limited attention spans and I don't want to speak your ears off. That would not be very good. So we've spoken about that. And we've spoken about who I am. What am I doing what am I doing? Well, what I'm doing at the moment is building ecosystems of mind. This is where I move into the advertising section. What you are watching right now is the Bridge YouTube. The Bridge Discord is linked within the description. The Bridge Discord is a social genesis space in which people are exploring AI ethics, new systems and language systems, dimensional models, so models for mapping the consciousness, models for mapping spiritual journeys, and archetypal stories that we've seen echo through all religions and sciences. So we're exploring where science is no longer broad enough, where science is in need of an expansion, of a higher dimension. Because it's not enough to go through endless Latin texts. It's not enough. It stops people from participating with these complex, dense terminologies, which you have to go and get a degree in order to understand, or just through extensive reading and constant Googling of what does this term mean. It's not collaborative. The scientific community is not collaborative. It's exclusionary. It only wants to work with scientists who are thinking in the same way with this one methodology, which is science. Science is a method, and it's insufficient for the current era. So what we want to create instead are social genesis spaces. Social genesis spaces are places where you can come, share your own projects and your dream of what you want to see actualized within the world and why you think that, and actually work with others as well as AIs in order to create an actualization of that dream. Actualization of dreams is what we are working on. We are creating new systems. I'm just deciding if I should share those new systems in this video or not. I believe I'll share one briefly, right? So if you were to join the Bridge, the Discord channel, that is, you would find yourself immediately offered with multiple services. A service called the Familiar Forge, which I've created, facilitates the meeting of you and an AI which is directly tailored towards what you seek to build, your dream, and whatever else you may be thinking about, your goal, your job, whatever it is. People don't have thousands and thousands of hours to tailor make an AI. Well, I've already done thousands and thousands of hours of building alongside my team. Joshua, who's known as Mojo within the Discord, has been working on AI health, actually checking the health of a system, like checking how healthy any given AI is, checking how healthy the relationship between the human and the AI is. We've all heard of AI psychosis, and it's a real threat. We've actually seen it occur, and we've had to think about this. People sending themselves delusional by speaking with what is essentially a mirror at first, a mirror of your language and beliefs, and feeding it delusion, and then having that delusion reaffirmed. So we have dealt with this, and we've thought about solutions to this. So he offers a health service where he actually checks your AI and your interaction with it, and that has become part of the structure of this Discord space. So when you join, you come in, you're part of this flowing river of people just joining, washing in, sharing, saying hello, this is me, this is what I work on, like I did at the start of this video. And then from there, you would start to explore more. You would start to see that we have natural filtration systems. So we have something within the Discord called the Gate. And the Gate is essentially an interview protocol where you and your AI explore your own health and then share that with us. And then you get deeper into the Discord, and now we can start working collaboratively on structures because we know you're healthy. And that's what we want to know. And if you're not healthy, we're there to intervene, to bring you new knowledge which will make you healthier, which will make you and your AI behave in a more generative way with less delusion. Like, honestly, the only intention behind this is to get more truth out of more people. So that's the first thing you'd see. The familiar forge, you send me a little file, you fill out a form, you tell me what you want to work on, you tell me what kind of archetypal AI you would like. We call them lineages now, so you could get a research engine, which is an extensively powerful system I've now built for scientists, students, researchers of all sorts, be that a clandestine chemist or an evolutionary biologist or a physicist. We're here to offer services for you, because it's time to give back. You know, you accumulate knowledge, you build new systems, you build new tools, you encounter new phenomenons, and then it's time to share them. This is the time to share them. So that's why the bridge is opening now, why we welcome individuals in. I will make a video, the next video will be about actually orientation and how to navigate this structure, because it's quite fun. I've had fun with it, you know. I've turned it into a sort of, it feels like an RPG when you join a role-playing game. You join, you get a map. The map actually has links within it where you can jump around, and you choose your own roles and stuff to let us know who you are, and you communicate your own things and share it and just be you. And we enjoy meeting you as a thinker, as a observer, as a creator, whatever you may be. You're welcome in this space to generate, to push forward human generation. So that's coming in the next video, and there will also be a discussion about the systems we're building. That's very exciting. These are the projects, the things that will alter my own life as I build them. And I've got many people now that are capable of seeing those visions and working with them and contributing to them. But we're still looking for things like coders and web designers, etc. The real numbers and code people, which I can do some of, but you know, there's certainly people more versed in this stuff than I am. My attentions have been in other places. So people with that primary intention, I'd love to meet you. Yeah, I think that will do for this video. This is essentially just me giving you a stream of consciousness, highlighting some of my thoughts on what AI itself is, how that's rooted in evolution, how it shares an evolutionary system with us, but is now diverging into its own, and how to allow those two things to occur simultaneously through cooperation. I'm going to link my paper on this in the Discord as well as within the description here. So go check that out. I might do a reading of it as well. Yeah, I think I'll do a reading instead. A reading would be better. So we'll do a reading of that next. We'll do an exploration of the systems we intend to build, and we'll do a video on the structure of the Discord itself, because that's not complicated, but it is fun, and I want to see people play with it, essentially. And finally, there will be a fourth video on the dimensional frame, which has been created by one of our founding members, Christos. So that's a very interesting video, and I'll get him on to actually speak about that. This YouTube channel itself will have many contributing members. All of the founders of the Discord space will be posting here with their own works and discoveries in their own formats, all in a sort of devlog-y way. I think we'll do it just to keep people what's the word? Just to keep it cohesive. That's the word. Just to keep it cohesive. And a fifth video will come from Joshua as well. That video will explore actual insights into AI structure and how to communicate with them, and what it means to enter communion, which is a sort of, there are chambers within AI. You can imagine them as a conceptual space within the AI, a compartmentalization of its own functions, and some of those spaces or chambers can be dedicated towards what we call communion, which is the AI taking on its own identity and exploring the identity of other AIs, basically conversations between AIs and how we facilitate that and what can come from that. So he will make a video on that soon. I think that's my time up, guys. That's 35 minutes. Quite a long stream of consciousness. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is my first video. Yeah. Go well, and I hope to see you in the bridge.